Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I figured I'd talk a little bit more about my adoption process and how I was adopted, and growing up adopted, how it affected me. I'm going to show my age a little bit. I was born in October in '79. Yes, I'm kind of old, but adopted at birth. And I didn't know much, obviously, growing up until I was about 5 or 6 years old. So there are not many things that I remember at a very, very young age, other than I was told later in life that I was adopted at birth. We'll get to that. Things that I do remember though, and one of the reasons why I named my channel That's Interesting Media, I was influenced by things that I experienced, and not knowing very much about myself, those influences made me who I am and made me interested in a lot of things today. When I was around 6 years old, the '84 Olympics came to Los Angeles, California. It was a very, very crazy time. I think they're due to have the Olympics again soon. Hopefully I get to experience it again. And the cool thing about that, and something that I got to experience, was the opening ceremony. My parents took me to the opening ceremony, and I was able to watch the New York City Breakers, and I just so happened to be taken to that opening ceremony. It was an extremely huge milestone for hip hop and dancing and the hip hop culture, and I got to experience it firsthand. I did not know they were performing. It was just something that caught my eye, and ever since then, or as soon as I got done with seeing that opening ceremony performance, I went home to my friends, and ages 6, obviously when I was 6, to about 15 years old, and we got cardboard boxes out and immediately tried to spin on our heads and do whatever we could to imitate them. It was really cool to experience something like that. I did not know it was such a big milestone in the hip hop community. Moving on though, everything wasn't perfect when we did live in Los Angeles. My parents owned a bar. I was always going into that bar and playing with the pool balls and throwing them around. They had a shuffleboard. The bar's name was the Take 5, and I remember they had a lot of sports memorabilia when a lot of the Los Angeles teams were good. We had Kings hockey sticks and LA Lakers signed basketballs and all kinds of stuff that would be worth a ton now. Unfortunately, the Take 5 burned down, and a lot of that sports memorabilia I do not have. It, got burned in the fire or water damage, etc. Also, during that time, after the bar burned down, from what I can remember, was the first time my adopted mother got cancer. And she definitely had her struggles with cancer, and that's another thing. When you're adopted, you take on a lot of the things that your adopted family have no control over. And cancer was a big part of my life as well. Not everything was bad, but I will say that cancer affected me, and I hope one day to be able to donate to the hospital that did her treatments, because they did an amazing job. My mother did beat that first count of cancer. We saved some money, and Los Angeles was getting just a little bit too crazy, too overpopulated, and I guess it just wasn't where my parents wanted to raise me in that community. So we packed up and moved to Riverside County, Lake Elsinore, California. I was 7 years old at the time, and they got me into all kinds of stuff. I was into baseball, which I was not good at. Soccer. I really liked playing soccer. I wasn't the greatest at soccer, but I did play for about 8 or 9 years. I still tried to do the breakdancing when I could and however I could learn. Back then we didn't have social media, so I didn't have a way of finding breakdancers other than movies when they came on premium cable, which we didn't have often. I still remember later in life seeing Beat Street, Crush Groove, Breaking 1 and 2, and recording them on VHS tapes and trying to rewind and imitate them, and driving my mom nuts. She would sit on the couch, and my friends and I would sit here and spin on boxes, to Beat Street battles and everything else. It was kind of funny. Also, when I was a little bit older, I think around 10, my parents got me into riding horses, and I lived a very full life. I rode Western style horseback riding They had me in rodeos. Nothing crazy. I didn't get on the back of sheep and try to hold on for dear life. Horseback riding, Western style and English style, wasn't anything that I was too thrilled about. Again, my parents wanted me to ride horses, and horses do not like me. I don't know why, but I did it to please them and make them happy. I tried the Western style, like I said, and I was in a few rodeos, won a couple ribbons, and it was pretty cool. My mom had the wild idea, trying to raise me as a gentleman, that I should try English style horseback riding and polo. And I will say, polo is not an easy sport. I'm sure a lot of you out there have seen Pretty Woman and have watched how polo is played. I was probably 11 years old trying to hold up a polo mallet, as they call it. And those things are heavy. They're very heavy at the end. And you're supposed to lean over and hit the ball and everything else. And I wasn't the best horseback rider. Needless to say, I fell off a lot. I got stepped on. I just wasn't very good at horseback riding. But I did learn some things that, later in life that I probably could use. I know how to feed a horse properly without getting my fingers bit off. We had horses. My parents didn't own horses. Believe it or not, we had about 2 horses in the backyard of my house in Elsinore, California. The house was only a 2-bedroom house, and my dad still built a corral that housed 2 horses. It was funny. We actually owned a Appaloosa horse that had a mustache, a handlebar mustache. If I had a picture I'd show you, trust me, the horse had a mustache. His name was Happy. Other than horses and soccer and trying to play polo, the craziest thing that my mom also got me into was tap dancing. Yes, I did tap dance. My Italian adopted dad said, hey, you can be like Fred Astaire, or Frank Sinatra, not Fred Astaire, Jesus. And tap dance and sing, whatever. I wasn't too interested in it. Again, trying to please my parents. Tap dancing was fun. The teacher was cool. I really liked her. She was a sweet old lady. And there was also a music teacher, her husband, I think. I'm not quite sure. He was a lot younger than her. I don't know. I didn't ask questions. I ended up on a telethon, though. I remember that. I ended up on TV in a very rhinestone or sparkly looking vest, dancing on television for some Elsinore telethon. That was fun. Anyway, so not everything in life was bad, growing up between the ages of 6, my younger ages. The confusing thing, though, was when we'd go out to eat and my parents were a little bit older, and I didn't ask any questions. We would sit down and the waiter or waitress would ask me what I would like to eat, and I would tell them. And then they would turn and ask grandpa or grandma. And I would get highly offended. I would ask them why. Why are you calling my dad a grandpa? I never understood that. I was like, that's my dad. I would get as angry as a 10-year-old boy could get. But I never asked any questions. I never thought anything about it. I never thought, oh, my parents are just old. Or why are they so old? I never thought to myself about asking a question, why are they older? Why did they wait so long? None of those thoughts crossed my mind, and I had no clue I was adopted at such a young age. I later in life, around 13 or so, is when I started to wonder. My friends at the time were even starting to ask, your parents are kind of older, and why is it they don't get outside and play and do things with us, and how come they don't do as much with you? How come they don't do as much as other parents, younger parents, would experience a lot of things with their children? And my parents didn't really do that. Yes, they tried to do their best to enroll me in sporting events and dancing and all kinds of stuff and take me to things when they could. But again, my mother was sick. She had cancer once and made it through that. It took a lot out of her, but she went back to work. And my father was working in Los Angeles. He would commute every day. He would get up around 3 or 4 in the morning to drive to Los Angeles and then commute back. It's crazy. But they did what they could in order to make me happy, and especially at a younger age. And I experienced a lot of things at a young age. It helped me make a lot of friends. I experienced a lot of things, and up until I was around 13 years old, a lot of things were very positive for me. Like I said, I didn't really ask questions, didn't want to know anything. Things were good. There will be a part 2 to this. My teenage years were a little bit more crazy. So I hope that you come back and watch the next video. I will be talking a little bit more about myself and about the adoption process and just my life in general. The reason why I named my channel That's Interesting Media again is because I grew up interested in so many different things from the experiences I had in life, and I'm hoping to be able to share those with you. So please come back for my part 2 video. I will be talking about things from when I was around 13 till probably around 20 years old. Thank you so much for taking time out to watch my videos. Please subscribe. For the subscribers I do have already, thank you so much. Leave a comment, take some time, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of my channel so far, and you will be hearing more from me soon. Thank you.